first ever live stream with a guest. I'm Dan Edwards, founder of F.I.R.E, Fathers in Real Estate, and I am joined by our good guest, Mike Wolters. So we've got a great introduction for you, so just hold on for your amazing introduction. So Mike is an accomplished professional. Oh, I'm going to move it right here so I can. Having spent about 30 years in sales, both corporate America and in real estate, now is the owner of the largest Keller Williams team in Utah, as well as an investor in several other businesses. Mike is looking to fully realize his personal mission of engaging and equipping those around him to become the best versions of themselves. And Mike and I have a long and I wouldn't say sordid story, but a long history. How many years have we known each other, Mike?
Oh my God, man. Well, going back to 2011.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe like 2010, 2011. Yeah. Okay. So we're coming up on our what is it? What's 25 years? Is that like the golden or what is that?
That's silver. And
okay, yeah. It's the silver anniversary.
I don't know if we were that close. My math would lead us to 12 years, 13 years.
Yeah.
Something like that. That's good. Okay. So,
right.
But let's do something special on our 25th. Okay.
You got it, man. I'm all about special things.
So let's just kind of get started. First off, like how Mike and I met is I actually helped him sell his first home. It goes a little before that because in my networking days, him and his former wife and I were in a networking group together, and that's where we met. So growing my real estate business, and since we're talking about fathers, we're talking about real estate. Getting out and networking was what I did. So that's how I earned the opportunity to help Mike sell his home when he decided to move back to Utah. So that's where we met. And Mike, what were you doing at that time?
I was running a big box store for Best Buy. So I had done that up there in your neck of the woods. And prior to that, Target stores for 15 years prior to that.
Right. And you were in management. So you were like running the store.
Yep. I was a store director running the day-to-day operations.
Okay. And when you tell me about how the idea of getting into real estate, when did that start for you?
Yeah. When I moved back to Salt Lake, good friend of mine who named Josh Stern, who also happened to be the realtor who sold our home as we made our way up to Seattle, we always kept in touch. And when I moved back in 2012, we just started picking up dialogue, started having coffee together. He was really challenging me on what my opportunities were in my current corporate job. And I think he was referring to opportunities to grow financially, wealth building, all of that. And it really came to a head like later that year as him and I were doing coffees. My daughter, who would have been around 10, asked me why I kept on missing her school functions. And if you know anything about retail, big box retail, you're there sort of turnkey when it opens to when it closes many days. And I made the commitment internally to myself right then and there, Dan, that year, so 2015, would be my very last year in retail. Didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew I had to do something better for my kids. And so all the while these conversations with Josh Stern are taking place, the intersection came to where it was like light bulb went off. Oh my gosh, he's got a great program, great team that he's starting. He's following a proven model. I don't have to be a genius. I just need to plug and play. That's
all right. Let me pause you 1 second here. How much were you making working for Best Buy as the general manager?
Yeah, about $150,000 a year.
Yeah. So it wasn't like you weren't making good money.
No, I mean, good money, really good benefits, profit share. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. So you were in a spot where, like, I talk to a lot of people who are thinking about getting into real estate, and they're like, I can't really do that because I've got this situation. Now, where your story is different than a lot of people is a lot of people just kind of get into real estate and they kind of do it. And we're going to come back to that because I think there's bits and pieces of our relationship in this story and kind of the mission of F.I.R.E that really kind of blends in well. But I do want to kind of bounce around a little bit because I want to get a little more how challenging was it for you to consider a role in real estate when you had that? And how did the conversations go when you had a steady job
Yeah.
making 150? Like, let's
Yeah.
unpack that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was a lot to it, right? It was a lot of conversations around budgets in the house, and um, we had two incomes, and yet I went off sort of the worst case scenario, Dan, that my income would get cut on the very best of years, we get cut by 2/3. And so, I mean, I guess I could have gone a lot more, but I was like, okay, I'm just going to count that I'm making about $50,000. And Josh showed me the way, and I'm like, okay, I think I can do this. Let's just count on $50,000. So we adjusted the household budget. I mean, literally, it was beans and rice and beans for months. And during that time, we are also paying off as many bills as we can with some of the money I'd gotten as I left corporate America. Cashed out some equity, stock options, etc., because we wanted to lower our monthly expenses that we could live on a lower budget.
Yeah.
Right?
Now, how long did that transition take?
Oh, well, that conversation with my daughter happened in the fall/early winter of 2014. And I started my first day in real estate, like licensed, ready to go, was November 1st, 2015. So it was a little over a year.
Okay, so there was some planning there,
Yep.
and so you got your license. You didn't quit your job, or you did? Tell me what you did there.
Well, I like predictability. So when I knew what let me work backwards. I knew my start date was going to be around November 1. That's what I'd worked out with our rainmaker. I also knew I'd never taken an extended period of time off, not even during the birth of my kids. So I backed that in too. I backed in 2 months.
Okay.
Right. So that takes me to first week of September, being done with retail. So now you back up from June, July, and August. I was working my full-time job and doing real estate school on the side. So doing them in the evenings, on the weekends. Fast forward, I tested on, I don't know, like middle of September, and had my certificate ready to go. And I had about 6 weeks to myself before I started.
Oh, and 6 weeks. So how long before you actually had success? Like first deal close?
3 months.
3 months. So
yeah, but I think the important piece to note here is the way Josh trained me. I mean, Josh Stern is regarded as one of the very best realtors in all of Salt Lake Valley. And his training of me personally, because back then our team was five people. Okay. So training was like, I was on his hip. He would not allow me to take a listing until I had passed off and showed my proficiency in a presentation. And that took me until about February to do.
Right. Now, how often were you practicing? There's so many, dude, we can talk for like ever on specifics on this, but like I see people getting into real estate and they're half-assing it, right? They're going, okay, where's the deal? Where's the deal? Where's the deal? It's like, wait a minute. Do you know buyer presentation, seller presentation? Do you know the contracts? You know those things? And I think that mentor, right, standing there saying, okay, let me hear your buyer presentation. All right. That was about a 6 out of 10. Let me hear your seller presentation. Okay, that was a 4 out of 10. What about these objections? Think back to your corporate year. You were in corporate for 20 years, right? Or and you weren't handed the best buy your first year or your second year or your third year, right? I mean, you had to really learn and understand and grow and develop. So yeah, that's pretty extraordinary. Okay, now I want to, because we could probably talk about that all day, and I'd love to have you on kind of going deeper on some of that stuff. But I kind of want to get the father aspect of it. So now you made that commitment to your daughter. What changes? How does it look now?
Well, I mean, the change well. Here's the irony of all this. My first year, starting November 1st, 2015, I'd worked 20 consecutive Black Fridays. I am so ready to have a Thanksgiving with the family, and which I did. But Black Friday, I'm on a listing presentation with Josh. So um, there's a little irony there. But it was almost instantaneous because um, within the framework of our training, I did have the ability, based on appointments I was shadowing or going on, and then ultimately creating for myself and going on myself, to put kids events or family events first, and then back everything else in.
So you're building your calendar in reverse, which is when you're working for corporate America, you work around corporate America's calendar.
Correct.
When you're working as a real estate agent in this industry, you build that, and it's basic. This is an appointment. I never tell my people it's because I'm going to watch my daughter ballet recital. It's an appointment, and it's on my calendar for a very important client.
That's so well said. You're 100% right.
All right. So everything since you jumped in the real estate has been like roses and hunky dory and fantastic.
No, of course not. I mean, I had a good start. First year I closed 30 transactions, and second year I closed 40.
And I want to point this out. This was standing on the shoulders of giants. And the reason why I say that is a lot of people are like, I don't want to join a team. I don't want to split my commission. But folks, he did 30 transactions. The average real estate agent starting out does three.
Well, and my total gross commission my first year in real estate was $142,000.
No. So
that's with splits. That
was your portion. Yeah. And there you go. And that was the jumping off point. And now, listen, I'm not just going to advocate everybody should join a team. Of course, you need to do what you need to do. But that was a situation that I would say I would be envious of Michael's opportunity. Of course, it was about being ready and being able. And then, like you said, it was ramen and rice. I mean, you really had to be lean for those first probably 6 to 8 months, right? Because that 150 doesn't show up in your bank account on a monthly basis.
Nope. No. I mean, we were on the Dave Ramsey plan. We had built our emergency fund. I mean, it was like, brass knuckle tactics in terms of just preparing for sort of this unknown.
That's awesome.
That's what it was.
So tell me about, and you can share as little much about your faith, but how did your faith kind of help you through this transition, not only the transition, but in your career in real estate?
Yeah, I mean, I'm blessed to have, grown up in a very, faithful house. My parents were both from New York, so, diehard Catholics. And, while my faith is just a little bit different than maybe, what they would have liked, there's an understanding and a relationship between myself and our Savior on like what it is, how I'm supposed to show up. What am I supposed to do? What is my role as a husband? What's my role as a father? What's my role as a leader? And we are given these incredible opportunities to go out and make an impact and a difference with the people around us, hence my mission statement, right? And so I think there's definitely a very close and connected fabric through that.
So you have you've been a really successful real estate agent. Your daughter is about to start high school. Your son's starting high school. Senior year in high school. Your son is starting his freshman year in high school.
Almost, yeah, 8th grade.
Okay. Oh, 8th grade. All right. So he's the big man on campus at the middle school.
So he feels, yeah.
So tell me how like the effects of the last however many years having this schedule, how has that allowed you to be a father intentionally?
Yeah. I mean, I'll just fast forward. I have not missed an event for my kids. My daughter has piano. I'm there with her. If my daughter has, a school event, I'm there. If my son has scouts, I'm there. Um, and I think the other thing that being in real estate allowed me to do is, unbeknownst to me, shortly after getting into real estate, I went through a divorce and I became a single dad.
Mm.
And I think it's important to note because, had I been in the retail space, being a single dad, I mean, I can't imagine.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I can't imagine the challenges.
Yeah. Yeah.
Trying to be here, trying to be there. And then let's not forget COVID, right?
Yeah.
COVID comes around. My kids are 4 years younger, so I've got a seventh grader and a second grader. And for 4 months, like all of us, I was a stay-at-home teacher, and I would not have been able to do that in the retail.
Not in an effective way, right?
No.
It would have been, and that's definitely pretty cool that there was that kind of foresight, not knowing what you were getting into and then seeing the results of that. I have to say that, for the when I look at my family and the flexibility that it's provided for 18 years, like I could be in foreign countries and close deals, right?
Yeah.
I could, because I built a team around me to allow me to do that. But most importantly, I just think too, there's actually good lessons. I've got a great story that when I was negotiating some part of a contract, and my son was in the back seat, and so the speakerphone comes on, and we have this conversation. It was actually kind of contentious, right? It was something that the party on the other side represented somebody that wasn't doing the right thing. And we got off the phone and we finished it. And I basically told him, hey, you got to make this right. And my son in the background goes, wow, Dad, you were really mad, but you didn't even sound mad. and that was like a cool lesson, because I think, some of us had the father. I had the father who went from 0 to 10 right away, was angry, like, mad. And I saw that. I was like, man, I do not want to be a father that's my method of doing it. I want to have variations. Like this is like an intentional father conversations. I want to have, we don't really know what Dad's thinking. On the other end, it's like, oh, he's voiceful, he's loud, or he's like quiet loud. He's really upset, right? So you want to be able to have, and I think these are kind of cool conversations that young fathers can kind of say, hey, here's my technique. Like, make sure you have variables in how you discipline your kids, because when you're unpredictable, you can keep them on their toes.
Well, there's truth in that too, and I think
real estate. I did. I learned that from real estate.
Yeah. Well, and I think, our parents both probably came, my parents were both boomers, and, the family dynamic back when they were, teenagers and young adults was much different than what our children are going through. And so, you can't, it's not a cookie cutter role. And I think your point and how you learned it is very appropriate.
All right. So what do you got in store? What's your future look like?
Oh my gosh, this is exciting, right? Because we're at least in the real estate market, man. I mean, it's a challenge, right? It's not the rainbows and unicorns of 3 years ago. And so, like my focus for the next couple of years is I am 100% in production, helping run my team. I've got 2 other business partners. So I'm actually helping buyers and sellers right now because that is what my team needs.
Yeah.
My team's got a bunch of younger agents, and they've got to be shown the ropes, much like the ropes were shown for me. And so, I'm excited about that, because a lot of these people on my team who are young, out of real estate for 6 months, a year. I mean, I was in that same boat 9 years ago.
Yeah.
And they have every opportunity to create whatever they want to, as long as we provide that opportunity for them.
Yeah, and I think from a standpoint of understanding is there are some people that are in corporate America that want to have this position, want to be in this flexibility, if you will, this industry, and would be really good. And I think that finding that pathway, this podcast is for our greater F.I.R.E. community, so fathers in real estate. but we also have some curriculum that is for people that are going from part-time to full-time, that transition. And it's a 12-week course that's going to be rolling out in July. And so if you're listening to this podcast and it's past July, just know that it's an ongoing thing. You can just reach out. It's a part of the FIRE community. So, and I do believe Michael is going to be a part of the FIRE community as well when he is not busy out there doing stuff. Anything else that thoughts or final thoughts on fatherhood, or, I mean, this is pretty open podcast. I don't want to take up all your time, but any other thoughts?
No, that's a great question, because I find myself, I've got you've got kids that are just a little bit older than mine, but I find, especially my soon to be senior, not knowing what she wants to do. And, I've got some money saved up for college. She's got straight A's. She's got her SATs. I mean, she is rock solid on the grades, yet she doesn't know what she wants to do. And Dan, I'm okay with that. Right. I mean, I think our job in this world that we live in now is to embrace what our kids are going through and encourage them, because gone are the years of, you go to work for a company for 30, 35 years, you retire, get your pension. I mean, that was stuff made for the 60s through the 90s, and we're well past that.
Yeah.
And so, I think for fathers, embrace where your kids are at, meet them where they're at. I'm doing the same thing with my teenager, my 13-year-old son. He's, he is the most lovable son. He's gregarious. He makes people laugh. And, him and his sister are not anything alike. And so you have to parent differently. I sort of went off on a little tangent there, but I think it's important that, I've used it a couple of times, that there is no, there's no cookie cutter approach. And I'll tell you this too, there is no perfect way of being a father. Being present is the starting point. Being involved is the next piece.
Yeah, being present is 60% of it, like being there.
Yeah.
Being involved is another thing. And I like what you had to say about allowing them to kind of grow into their vocation. Like that's the kind of the truth is, what are they going to be passionate about? And it shows up in different times. I mean, boys usually take longer. I was pretty impressed. So my son, he's going to U of I Vandals. And, he just squeaked in to college, and it was kind of an afterthought that he was going. And he got in, and he was like a fish in water, and he aligned himself with a good group of guys in his fraternity, went towards business and marketing, and he's now on the dean's list. He's got one more year to go in business and marketing. He's not sure where he's going to land with regards to that, but he'll end up with the leadership skills that he achieved in the last 3 years are light years above what probably anybody assumed when he was in high school, because he was not the leader. He ended up becoming a leader, and that's all I want a kid that's a leader, not a follower.
They're going to be walking. They're going to be following our footsteps, and we need them. We need them.
Well, Michael, I do appreciate your time. Know you're a busy guy, and I'll probably ask you to come on the podcast talking about other topics as we kind of drill into more like technique and stuff like that. I know you're busy mentoring and coaching your team, but I appreciate you're always up for a conversation, so I appreciate that.
Yep, you call me, I'll be available, my man.
All right, cool. Well, all right. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it, dude.